All right. Hey everyone, it's Finn here with the NOLAnerdcast episode 2, joined with Kyle Foley, my fellow Floridian. And by fellow I mean I'm not from here, but I live here now, and I have to just admit that sometimes. And you're an Orlando boy, right?
I am. I am born and raised. I turned 30 in a month, so I'm getting close to, I've been here for 3 decades, and I also don't like to always admit that I'm
Right?
from here.
But at least I feel like Orlando is one of those cities where it's like it kind of it's associated with something very different than the rest of Florida.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, obviously the Disney World stuff, and that's nice. Like I'm about 15 minutes from the parks, so like growing up, it was dope. I got to go to Disney all the time. Universal's not too far either, so like it's definitely more touristy, which I was kind of surprised about. There's a lot of like there's a big like South American population from Brazil, Venezuela, and I know there's a huge Puerto Rican contingency. There's a lot of different like there's a whole Korean section of downtown Orlando, like right on the outskirts. Like it's a huge diverse like immigrant area that I didn't realize growing up, and it's like I've been discovering that as I get older, and I'm just like, oh, this is actually super cool. It's not just like Florida man everywhere, but we
Right?
do have plenty of those.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm an hour and a half down from you over in Tampa, St. Pete, but my wife is from Orlando, so we're up there pretty frequently. And I keep forgetting that very easily we could actually just hang out in person one day. And
Listen,
it always slips the
anytime.
mind. You know what? It's happening. It's going to be beautiful. But today we are here to talk about you and all the fun stuff you do and all the fun stuff you're enjoying and just life and all that good stuff. So, why don't we kick it off by letting everyone know who is Kyle Foley?
Oh gosh, that is it's a more existential question than I thought it would be. I mean, my main things. I'm a writer. I've gotten into it over the last professionally for the last 6 years now, doing all sorts of different things. I write primarily for But Why Tho, doing a lot of video
Yeah.
game coverage. I also do I dabble in anime, and I've done a couple like movies and TV shows. It's not We have writers who are much more like well versed in that, so I kind of hop in as needed. Like I'm doing the current season of One Piece and things like that, but I don't do a ton. Otherwise, it's mostly gaming because I grew up playing video games, and so I like getting to talk about them. It's like I just did a preview of the new update for the Skate game, where I feel like I'm one of only like 20 people that still somewhat regularly check in with that. But for me, what's cool is I like to talk about the things that I enjoy. It's just fun to, you know, obviously it's fun to play games. It's fun to write about them. It's like every kid's dream. But then I also the flip side of that is I also do for the Orlando Sentinel, I do the soccer coverage for the two pro soccer teams, Orlando City on the men's side and the Orlando Pride on the women's side. So like my jobs that I get to do are I get to write about video games and I get to write about soccer. And those are the two things that I love doing the most in my spare time. So it's one of those like even still, after doing it for years, you kind of got to pinch yourself and be like, man, what a cool thing to get to do.
Right? Like they always say, do what you love. And you just said bet.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other side of my life is I do music. I'm a drummer. I've been drumming for 25 years, 24 years. I started when I was really young. My dad's a drummer, both of his brothers are drummers, and his mom was a drummer. So I got brought up in that, and now I'm in my ninth year of helping teach at a local high school. I do all the percussion stuff there, and I've got a staff of people that help me, and like it's a lot of cool. So I have two very separate lives of all these crazy different things, but it is literally everything I do is just. And I tell my students all the time, like if you love what you're doing, yeah, it's going to be hard and you're going to have to work really hard, but you're going to have fun. And I feel like in the world we live in, it would be so much cooler for you to like, yeah, it might be harder. You might not be able to get to do, go on as many trips or do as many whatever, but if you're happy and you're having fun, like it's been so fulfilling, like all the different avenues.
That's awesome. Do you ever think like, did you ever have that moment where you go, Mom, Dad, I don't want to be a drummer. I want to play the oboe or something? Just
No, no, it was the
no
opposite.
child of mine's gonna be an oboe player.
No, it's my middle school band director wanted me to be a clarinet player, and my parents were like, no way. They're like, he does not want to do that. And they were right. I didn't want to do it. But no, I've always drums is I get to you get to hit things And sometimes when you're, especially like when you're stressed and things are bad, I get to just like sit down and hit things in a way that's not like violent or a danger to anything. So no, that's always been my, I've like taught myself other instruments. I taught myself how to play trumpet, a little bit of saxophone, like not competently at all, but a little bit. I can play bass guitar. I can play a little bit of regular guitar. I can play piano, like all sorts of things. Like I've done that for fun, but when it comes to it, I love getting to play the drums. That is like my favorite thing ever.
So something just popped up into my head about that. So when during the heyday of Rock Band, were you the drummer? Or because I've heard conflicting stories that actual drummers had trouble being the drummer for Rock Band, and I've had some be like, my skills translated well enough that I was able to kill it.
I actually just had this conversation with someone earlier today because I guess Fortnite's like new Guitar Hero version is adding in drums and vocals, and they were like,
No.
"Oh, Kyle gets to live out his dreams," and I was like, "No, not my dream." I in seventh grade, I was in the jazz band at my middle school, and it was like a really like you had to audition. We got to go play at Disney and do all these things. So it was like it was a really at the time it probably felt more prestigious than it really was, but it's like a big deal to be there. And at the end of the year we did they brought in Rock Band, and that was like really in the infancy of Rock Band. And so I've got all these other musicians who are like playing in like the all-state bands and went on to go to like all these conservatories and all different things, and they're all like, "Oh man, you're going to play the drums, you can do this." And so first my friend Austin played, who was the other drummer, and he really struggled. So I was like, "Oh man, what a loser. I'm going to do this." And it was so out of like it's so marginally out of sync. It wasn't like it was like crazy, but it was just a little bit off. And I'm sure it's better now, but I've been so traumatized by that experience where all these like really good musicians were just like giving me crap, and now I'm just like, oh, like I don't want to ever touch drums on this game again, no matter how perfect it is, because I don't want all these people who know I'm a drummer to be like, oh, see, he's pretty bad. So like it is, but like I hear from other people, there's some that I know that have been able to do it. You just have to train your brain to not play exactly in time, and that, as someone who did drumline for 4 years and like teaches drumline, and I'm always using a metronome, it is, I don't mean this is like an arrogant thing, but I've practiced so much to be in time that the
Right.
idea of not being perfect in time, like it hurts my brain. So I'm just like not able to do that, and it's frustrating because I want to be able to do it.
I feel that's so fascinating because it's like everyone else has to train their body to get used to being the drummer in Rock Band, and actual drummers, it's like, is it worth it to deprogram my brain to do it the right way so I can play a game, or should I just play the guitar? Right.
Yeah. That's what I do. Or and then it's like if I really want to go play these songs, I'll just like go sit at my drum set and put in headphones in and play it. But yeah, it's no, I definitely not really anymore. I don't really have that like, oh, it would be cool to like kind of turn my brain off and do this just as a cool like exercise. Like, can I do this? But yeah, it's super tough.
Yeah. Um, so you mentioned But Why Though? And I had actually met you and we'd become friends before I even knew you were part of But Why Though. And then I became friends with the people behind But Why Though? And so I've always been curious. I don't think I ever asked you, how did you join the team? Were you scouted? Did you like submit coverage to them? Did you say, "Hey, my name is Kyle. I'm super cool. Let me write for you"? Like what's the But Why Though origin story over here?
So I was in their just community Discord server. I was just a part of the stuff in there, getting to know people, and I got to know Kate and Matt who run the place, and it was 2020. It was when the new Ratchet and Clank game was coming out, and they
Mhm.
didn't have anybody that had a PS5 and they could cover it. And I was like, I mean, I do have a background in writing, and I do have a PS5, and I do like Ratchet and Clank. I wouldn't mind doing it. And so, and I really at that point wasn't doing any professional writing. I was doing just the teaching and then some other odd jobs. So it was definitely initially just like, hey, I like you guys and I want to help you out because you need this. And now fast forward now, and it's just still there because I like doing it, and it's a good community, and the purpose of the writing from the site is really good. I like the idea of not trying to be clickbaity, not trying to be, oh, we're making, not that there aren't things that have been written where people have like a really strong stance, but there's a lot of freedom and a lot of encouragement from Kate and the rest of the editorial team where it's like, just talk about how you feel. Like there's no like agenda of we're trying to get this sort of opinion or this sort of whatever. And that for me was super, it's been super cool to grow as a writer. Like when I go back and I read my first couple reviews, I'm just like, man, like I was really bad. And when I read my stuff now, I'm like, man, I'm still really bad. But I can at least see the
But
growth
I'm
and see
less
the,
bad.
yeah, but like, so I just did about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Kate reached out about doing a piece on the anime Blue Lock and soccer. And because here's two of the things that I love, got to combine them into a really cool piece. I did a lot of research on like the history of anime and manga and how it drives Japanese sports. And like Shohei Otani, the best baseball player alive now and probably alive ever, like at one point said I chose baseball over soccer because of a manga. And I was just like, that to me is wild that like we were so close to having one of the greatest athletes of all time doing a completely different sport purely because of the comic books he grew up reading. And so I did like a deep dive into the different influences, and there's some people on the soccer side who are also driven by manga and anime and like getting into that. So there's a lot of like the growth for me as a writer in being there has been tell cool stories like that. Go find things like that. When you're doing a review, it's not just like a here's a checklist of this, that. It's like what's the purpose of this? What impact did it have? What kind of meaning does it have? Like all sorts of things that I'm just like, this is really cool to be encouraged to do stuff like this and get to do that. So it's been, like I said, it literally started as just like, oh, you guys have a need and I'd love to help out. And now it's been 5 years. I think it was 2021. So I think it's been like 5 years, and it feels like it's been a day because it's just like it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like it's just a good team and it's stuff that I love doing. I mean, and you've met the people there too. It's
Yeah,
just an incredible group.
I agree. So that's awesome. I'm happy that you're part of it, and it just kind of just makes the world feel a little smaller when all those things collide together. So it's cool. Now, going back to the concept of an origin story, how did you get your start in gaming? What was your first console, your first game, as much as you can remember? Like for me, it was when my uncle decided, hey, my nephew's 3 years old. I'll get him one of these Nintendos I hear so much about for Christmas. And I got Mario, and I was like 3 or 4, and I was playing Mario on NES, and that's how it started. And my parents got revenge on him by getting his daughter a PlayStation 1 when she turned 4. So it was like, now you have to deal with it. And now we're nerds together growing. It's fun, but like that's where I started. What about you?
Yeah, I had a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Red version as a kid,
Nice.
and I didn't know how to read. But I believe, and I guess I have to ask. I don't think I've talked to my parents about this really. I just remember what I bits and pieces that I've been told over the years. But so it was given either by my aunt or my grandma, had like picked it up thinking like, oh, this is like a new thing. As he gets older, he might like it. Like there's no intention for 3-year-old me to be playing a video game, but I did and started to like ask, like I learned how to read from playing Pokemon Red version because I would ask my parents, "What is this? What is that? What is?" So I started reading like actual books by the time I was age 5. I read The Hobbit and was reading other things like that. So I like, because I'm a huge reader. It's like the thing I do probably more than anything. And so that was kind of that, and gaming were tied in together. And so Pokemon was like the big thing. I still play regularly. I'm still really engaged. But then I got a PlayStation 1 and then a PlayStation 2. And the PlayStation 2 was what really got me to go from like, oh, I just enjoy like Pokemon and like some random like, Bugs Bunny castle game I had, to like I'm a really intense, like I want to play. I had the Sly Cooper games that I loved, the Ratchet and Clank games. Like I would come home from school and I would sit there for hours and hours and hours playing. My neighbor had a GameCube. We would go over and play there. Like that was when I really became, this is like, I just love doing this and I'm gonna take it super seriously in like how often I play, how much I play. And I probably play less now, even though I do a lot of stuff for work, but I'm very like, I try not to let it be the only thing I do with my free time. But it, as a kid, especially in middle school and high school, it was like if I'm not, at school or at band, like I'm at home playing a video game, to the point that one year we had family in town for Thanksgiving and I was upstairs in my room playing video games. And my aunt asked my mom is Kyle depressed because he doesn't come down and hang out with us? Like he's just up in his room. And my mom's like, "Oh no, he's probably playing video games, but I should probably go like make him come down." And I remember her coming to get me and I was like, "I'm not. Like I'll go down for a little bit to be polite, but then I want to go. I want to say it was the oh gosh, what was there was the old show on like Spike or whatever where it was like the different warriors throughout history fighting each other and they had
Yes,
like
I
a
remember with that shit, and they would like do it was basically like historical death battle.
yeah, and they had like a PS3 game, I think. And so that for a while I was like super hooked on for some reason. Like just so many so many
Oh,
different like weird
you got
things.
me now. I gotta look that up. Okay, keep talking though.
Yeah, so that was big and then obviously sports games. Like I've always been a sports fan. My parents are from Pittsburgh, so I
Deadliest
grew up.
Warrior.
Yes, Deadliest Warrior. Oh my
Yep, and
gosh.
I 100% remember that PS3 game too. Like, what a weird era when
I
any
think
random
it's
show could have a game.
Oh, I miss the era of tie-ins though, because like the PlayStation 2
Same.
Spider-Man games,
Yes.
the movie tie-ins were so good. Like I that was listen, most of those games weren't good, even though I think the Spider-Man ones were. Most movie tie-in games weren't good, but it was fun. I
Yeah.
really just liked getting to do that. So,
It used to
but
be
yeah,
like if you liked the game or movie, you could go back and play a game based on it. And it was either a one-to-one retelling of the story of the movie, or it was like some weird like spin-off, like it takes place in between this moment of the movie, or it's a but it was always cool. I enjoyed it.
yeah. No, it's definitely there's a lot of stuff that was always fun, especially when you had like the stuff on like the Game Boy Advance and like the things that were like a completely different than the movie in terms of like the tone, but the story and the things like that were similar. So that was always that I think that's what got me into the Deadliest Warrior. I was also like a 13-year-old kid who if I had a channel on TV where I could watch people blow up ballistic dolls and then see a fictional fight between these things like oh I was nerding out about that. This was cool. But then from there the gaming evolution kind of became into sports games just as a big sports fan. Like I grew up, I'm a Steelers fan, Penguins, Pirates, like all those things. And so I would play an Orlando Magic fan, as a kid. Like I would play any sports game I could just to kind of, I liked watching them on TV. So I wanted to play all of them, the NCAA games, Madden, FIFA. I still, now I review them. So it's nice. So I don't have to buy them every year. But I still, like every year, will go through the gamut of I'm playing NHL and I'm playing Madden and I'm playing college football. And I don't play them all as much as I used to. I think college football is probably the one I play the most, but like every year I'm here and I'm waiting for them and I'm like ready to pick them up. It's just been kind of a lifelong thing.
That's awesome. Um, I guess pivoting a bit, I have to do a quick aside though. This is just a quick tangent because your background. I asked you right before we recorded, and I was like, "What is that from?" And you said,
It is from Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie,
"What?"
which is a movie based on a show from 2018 based on a web series from the late 2000s of these two guys, Jay McCarroll and Matt Johnson. They had like a web series called Nirvana, the band, the show. And then about a decade after that, in 2018, they had a TV show on like Vice TV. And the entire premise is they want to get a show at their local like restaurant that also happens to do live gigs, and they do different plots every episode that's based off of a movie. So there's like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and then there's some more obscure things, and it is and everything they're doing out in public is like unscripted. Like the people that they're interacting with, all these things, like everything is just like they're going and doing stuff and whatever. So this movie came out earlier this year. I went and saw it in theaters because a friend recommended it to me. Hadn't seen the show, hadn't even the only one I've seen. These are the guys who do the We Shop Wednesday skit that I think that like most everybody's seen, and that was all I knew them from. And so I saw the movie. It is hands down my favorite time travel movie of all time now.
And I would have never guessed that it was even a time travel movie based. I honestly, when because I didn't know anything about this except that it existed and people seemed to like it. The name, I thought it was just like some parody of a Nirvana biography. Like I thought maybe at best it would be a parody of all these biopics we've been getting.
That's what I thought too. And then it's like, oh no, they're doing like a whole Back to the Future bit. Like we have to go back in time and get ourselves a show. And it's like there's so much more to it. And obviously, I don't want to like spoil things for people that because
Yeah,
I think you should see it. I think you should find the show
I
online
most likely
and
will.
watch it. But like there's so many heartfelt moments, but they also, when they go back to 2008, because that's kind of the big premise of the movie, they're doing it alongside their old footage from 2008. So now that I've gone back and I've watched the show and the web series, I'm catching all of the little things that they're doing and tying in. There is so much detail and so much heart to it that, like, yes, it's really funny. Yes, it's there's so many hysterical moments, but also a really good heartfelt message where it's like, if you have a best friend, you never really notice getting older. And I was like, what a cool, like, cool concept and cool ideas and like really good, like, heartwarming things in this absurdly funny movie where they're jumping off of the CN Tower in Toronto and like doing all these crazy things. So I've been obsessed with it. Like, I've watched the movie a couple times. I keep trying to get everyone I know to watch it. So this is a background I did for, I forget what I was doing it for. I had like something I was doing on Zoom and I had it as my background, and then I've just left it because I'm just like, you know what? Everybody should know how awesome this movie is and not how chaotic my bookshelves are behind me.
Oh man, like I don't know if you can see this room I'm in is where I keep my like my hardcover like trades and omnibuy and stuff, but you don't want to see my garage where I keep my individual like weekly comics type stuff. It's rough. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing, some might say.
I just had a shelf on. I have like a really old, it's like 8 foot tall, like solid oak bookshelf, and one of the shelves
Oh, that's
collapsed the other day because I
oh
just have
no.
so many books on it, and it's been with me for, gosh, I want to say I got it in middle school, and I've just had it with me for so long, and it just it was just the support on it, so I was just able to raise it up a level, and hopefully it'll last me another 10 years before it breaks
Right.
again. But I like was at my desk, and all of a sudden I heard like a crack and go down, and I saw the book start to slide, and I like jumped across to try to stop them from falling, because I have, last I counted, I have a little over 1,300 books, and then I just kind of
That's
stopped
awesome.
documenting it. So I think I'm close to 1,400, and this is like my whole life. I started collecting these when I was, a little kid to now.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean, I not to get depressing, but like a lot of the stuff I collected as a kid was just absolutely decimated by Katrina. And so I mean, I've spent most of my adult life slowly like repiecing together some of my collection stuff, but it must be cool to see something that you started as a child like just grow.
Yeah, it's super. It's one of the things, like, and my friends joke, like, when we're playing games, and like, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get off. Like, I'm gonna go to bed, and what it really means is I'm gonna go sit and read for an hour. It's just kind of, it's always been a thing I've done, and I've been more intentional about it the last couple of years, and it's really cool. I love rereading books. That's why people always ask, like, why do you have so many? Like, just go donate them, or I occasionally I take some to a used bookshop and trade them in and get more. But I love that my Lord of the Rings copies that I reread every year are the same ones that I read 15 years ago. And so there's something about like picking up something, same with like keeping old video game systems and
Right.
things like that. Like, there's just something about a tie to a different time in life. And then when you re-engage with the media, whether it's a book, whether it's a game, whether it's a movie, like, because you're in a different place in life, your experience and what you get out of it is going to be completely different. So it's one of the things, like, my dad and I both reread and rewatch Lord of the Rings every year. And we will just be calling and texting each other when we're in the middle of it. And it's like a line that we've heard a million times or we've read a million times, but it hits us in a different way. And it's super cool. So that's the cool thing about, collecting these different things and being able to look at, even like, I have the old like little strategy guide for Pokemon Red version, and it's missing the cover, and it's like, because I was a small child and didn't know how to treat things, but like, it's just super cool to see that and be able to like know that there are things that have lasted from when I was a kid until now. And even though I may be a very different person and things may be different, like, my attachment to those things and the emotion that those things bring me is still there.
You know what? Give me 1 second. You've inspired me. I think you might actually appreciate this. Where is it? Nope, that's not gonna work. Um, yeah, there we go. Let me fix this. Okay, I still have the little Nintendo Power
Oh,
Pokemon Red inserts that
that is so cool.
that doubled as the little like strategy guides for the game when they first come out. Like they would be like, hey, in Pokemon Red and Blue on this route, these are the Pokemon you can get based on what version you have. And there was like they did 6 of them across 6 months, and it went through the entirety of the first game. Like it was so cool, and I just yeah. So it's just something fun about having stuff like that, right?
Oh my goodness. I like, and even like I've started collecting old books too. Like I do a lot of like current like special editions and things like that, but I've been trying to find. I recently ordered a set of the Lord of the Rings books, the a set from 1979 that I found online in like almost pristine condition, and they were not super expensive. It's like $100 for all four of the books with the Hobbit and the trilogy. And I was just like, I like. There's something about holding something in your hand that's been there for whether it's been 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. There's so much history in those different things, and there's so much there's a story to it that goes beyond what's inside of it. And I think that is, as I get older and I get kind of more nostalgic about things, and you think about things differently, really taking a minute to sit back and appreciate the stories about the things that we're engaging with, and not just the stories within the things. So like the impact that it has on the individual, or the impact it has on people, or just like I have this thing and it's been passed down from different people. Like there's just so that stuff is so fascinating to me, and I sound like a complete dork about it, but
No,
it's
but
just it's super cool.
it is. And I mean, it's people can, especially in this increasingly digital only age, like a lot of people is in if they're younger or not, but they completely kind of diminish the importance that having something like that physical with memories attached can be to somebody. Like it doesn't hit the same if you just click download versus having a physical. Like I have so many stories tied to so many things. Like if I look at something even beyond the memories I make of playing the game, like I have a memory of how I got that game. Like who gave it to me? What was the occasion? You know what I mean? Like there's just it's intrinsically tied somehow, and I feel especially nowadays it can get lost in the shuffle, but I 100% agree with you. It's just there's just
Yeah,
something cool about it, whether it's a game, a movie, a book, something.
yeah, I've got a bunch of my old like PlayStation 1 games. One that we played a lot was Tycho RC, just a little like RC car kind of racing game. Like at the time, I had never played Mario Kart, so I didn't know at the time that there were better things, but I just thought this was like the coolest thing. And the case on it has, or the insert in it has like a really big coffee stain. And what happened was my dad and I used to play most every night for a while. I was like super addicted to it. It was probably 6 or 7, and we were playing, and I had this little stool that had my name in like blocks on it, and I went to go sit on the stool and didn't realize my dad had for some reason put his coffee on my stool. And so like, and being a young child, you don't just sit down normally. I was
You
really
plop.
aggressive with it, and so like coffee all down. If I remember right, it was like new khaki pants that my mom had bought me and had me try on. So like coffee all down that. The stool, which I think is still at my parents' house, was stained, and the insert to the game has a coffee stain on it because the case was sitting open just like on the floor by the PlayStation. So like that is a thing that I get to think back to all the times of playing that with my dad. And a couple years, probably 5 years ago now, for my birthday, I bought a new PlayStation 2 because my old one had been long gone. So I went and found one, and I took it over to my parents' house and set up, and my dad and I played through that for a little bit. And I was just like, this game is awful, but it's really cool to get to relive this with like this is the same copy. This is the same thing that we used to do, and now 20 years later to get to go and do that. And then that memory's always with me. It's up on a shelf, and it's one of those things that will always be with me, and I'll always get to go back to. And that is, like you said, the digital age is so frustrating. Like obviously there's all the conversations about like bad for consumers and things like that. And I'm not saying that those like aren't legitimate things. I don't agree with them. But for me, the bigger thing is like there's just something about holding something in your hand. There's something about whether it's on like a holiday and somebody gave it to you, or you go to a store and you come home and you crack open the case and pop the disc in, and it just some, yes, I get like a lot of that. I feel like might be just our nostalgia goggles, but there's just you have like a physical attachment to this thing. You have a physical connection, and that's so much deeper than just hitting download and going on and doing something. So it's cool. Like I love looking at my shelves and seeing my old books and my old games and my new stuff, and seeing all that together is like just a reminder of the experiences that I've had over the years. And that's a thing that it's a bummer that kids don't really get to experience that, at least not the same way anymore. And I hope as we saw like a revival in like vinyl and things like that, I'm hoping physical copies of like movies and games is a thing that like kids find cool at some
Right.
point. Like, man, I want to own these physical games again. And it's not just like us who are getting older who are just like, oh, I remember the good old days. Like, I want kids to see like, man, there's really cool value in having things like this, because there is, and it's just so cool to be able to keep those things. And I don't want to look at my dashboard on my PlayStation and see how many games are in my library. I want to be able to look at a shelf and see those things and think about those experiences.
I agree. That's you put it in a much more poetic way, I would say. So, switching from looking back to the past and all the things that we started with, what about nowadays? Like what is it currently that you're playing, that you're reading, that you're watching that puts a smile on your face, right? Like games can elicit all types of emotions, but I feel like even if a game is scary or sad, it can still make you feel good for playing it. So, just what is on Kyle's to-do list?
So I mean I did recently get back into Destiny 2 with the new expansion, and I've been kind of, I had like an addiction to that during COVID, so I've tried to not be as into that. But for me, just in general, there's not like a specific game I'm in right at this moment, just because I'm waiting for some other things to come out later this year that I'm interested in seeing. But for me, I always want to play a game with a good story. So like I'm excited about the Wolverine game, even the 007 from the
First Light.
Hitman developers. Yeah, like things where I'm just like, I feel like there's some sort of like I can immerse myself in this world and do that. I've been really hovering over whether or not I want to buy Crimson Desert, because even though from what I hear, it doesn't have like a real big story, the world is something that you can just like lose yourself in and do stuff, and it's such a cool concept that I'm just like, man, I really want to try this. But I feel like unfortunately I don't let myself, like I've been playing a little bit of Romeo as a Dead Man, which is, it's a Suda 51 game. And if you've never played one of those games, it is, what's really funny is when I'm playing it and somebody walks in the room and sees it and it's just like, what is going on? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like,
Just
it's
just
just
enjoy
how
the
it is.
ride.
Yeah. Like I love, for me, and it's honestly one of the cool things about like this day and age where there's so much more access to the developers. I love playing something that someone loved making.
Yeah.
So like even with like I talked about, I'm still playing Skate a little bit. I don't play often, but I'll go on and play. But when they have new updates and they're doing press availability and they're giving a presentation and talking about it, and you see the development team and they're there and they're playing the game and they're talking about their, growing up as a skateboarder and growing up playing these video games, and how, having them talk about when they got feedback that from players that wasn't super great, like they felt that too. They're like, You're right. Like were trying to do a mix of what we liked and what you kind of have to do for a live service game, and we realized those things aren't always congruent with each other." And just hearing that and hearing these guys talk about how much they love this project is like made me go, man, like, well, I really want to like spend more time appreciating the work you put in. And so for me, it's so much of like, if I'm going to go play something new, I love to look and see like where there are interviews with the developers and the people involved in it, and what did they have to say about it. Like, what are they? Is this just a like, oh, this is like the big thing? Like, I don't really have any interest in like GTA 6, which is the big thing coming out. Like, I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be fun, whatever. But my interest is more in like some of these, whether it's slightly below AAA or smaller indie games. Love getting to play things that people loved making. I just played something recently and I'm blanking on the name as I go through and look for it. So I'll have to. I don't remember the name, but it is a like retro soccer deck building game, and it is like fans of 1980s, 1990s English soccer.
Is it
And
Nutmeg?
yes, Nutmeg. Oh my gosh. I
I
was
mean,
like trying to find it
you
in my
well,
Steam
to be fair,
library.
you described it perfectly because typing in retro soccer deck building game, it was the first thing to pop up. So I feel like you nailed it.
Yeah, it's just like you open that up and from the visual style and the gameplay and the way things are, you just the passion from the team is so palpable that I just find myself really absorbed in those because I think it fits with what I've tried to make my personal philosophy, which is finding joy in things. When you look outside or you open up social media or you read the news and everything's really bad and a lot of things are really
Yeah,
bad that like you can have no control over it. I can't
right.
control, global politics, but I can control what I'm doing in my immediate vicinity. So obviously like things you're doing actively to take care of people and help your communities and do stuff like that, which is really important, but also for yourself. you know am I taking at least a little bit of time to step away and do something I enjoy? So finding games where I know that the person making it was enjoying it and I get to feel some of that secondhand joy at the same time is really really fun.
That's absolutely so cool, dude. Like, because I agree. I'm more or less in the same boat where sometimes you just have to remind yourself that you could spend your evening doom scrolling and making yourself just irrevocably sad, or you can just spend some time doing something you enjoy, even if it's something small. You know, it it's hard sometimes to break away because we're conditioned to want to be in the know and do every get on the right as breaking news drops and stuff, but sometimes it's just so unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I like to just kind of play a game or read a book. Like, and I know sometimes my tastes are a little basic, uh, especially when it comes to music and books. But then I also have to remind myself that there's nothing wrong with that. Just as long,
Right.
just because something's popular doesn't make it bad. Like pop culture has taught you that people are snobs about stuff like that, but whatever. Like I'm really enjoying the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. They are fun books that put a smile on my face, and I feel like they've been tailor made for my generation and my personage. And they make me happy. They make me laugh, and I shared them with my wife, and now she's reading them just as much as I am, and it's fun.
Have you guys are you reading them or are you doing the audio versions?
Oh no, reading. I mean, I have
Okay.
nothing against audiobooks. I love the production value that goes into it,
Yeah.
but I like to just sit down with a book in my bed.
No, I'm the same way. I was just it's one of those there's some things where I've done both.
Mhm.
I was just curious just because I've heard the audiobooks for those are really good.
I have 2.
I read the first one and I listened to part of the second one. The problem for me is I can't really do audiobooks for fiction. I can only do it for nonfiction where it's almost like listening to a podcast.
Okay,
And
that's fair.
it's easier for me to focus because it's a lot of times it's like I'm going through a series on a World War II trilogy that goes to like Northern Africa, Italy, and then into Germany. And it's like I know most of these facts and most of these names, and if I don't remember every single name that's mentioned, I'm not like I know how the story ends. Whereas like if I'm listening to a fiction book and I miss something, then
True.
like I'm missing how the story ends. So I'm the same way where it's like I like the winding down with a physical book in my hand, but then I hear people tell me all the time about like, oh, I listened to this and it's really and then I listen like the big one is Project Hail Mary. Just the movie
Hmm,
just came out recently and it's fantastic. That's one where I actually will tell people do the audiobook over the book. And it's probably the only thing I will ever say that for, just because the bulk of the book is two characters communicating and the way the narrator does that is so much better than I was able to do for myself. But it's cool. It's just interesting. I'm always curious why people or how people engage with books. Not in like I know there's a lot of snobbish like audiobooks aren't reading. I think that's
right.
ridiculous. I think video games are reading sometimes. I think comic books are reading. Like if as long as there are words and your brain is processing them, you are doing more reading than the average human being is doing. The only thing I will not count as reading is scrolling social media and things like that is
Yeah.
different. But trying to actively engage your brain and do things like that is awesome. So it's just that was why I asked. I'm always curious
Oh,
how
no,
people engage with those.
because you said Project Hail Mary, I have not listened to that audiobook. My recommendation, or the one I always like to go to for, like, audiobook is not quote unquote better than the book, but I feel like it enhances the experience, and almost for the same reasoning, is World War Z. because it's the
Okay.
same way where the book itself is told as like a retelling of the events that happened during the zombie apocalypse, and the audiobook is the same thing. Each chapter is done by a different person reading, so it feels like you're listening to all these survivors recount what happened. And I
Ooh,
feel like
I'm gonna have to do that because I
well,
have the book on like
it's
somebody I
cool.
was just
Yeah,
talking about the book the other day with someone, so I'll have to add that to my wish list and pick that up. The other ones I do are Lord of the Rings because it's Andy Serkis and he
yeah.
does all the voices and it's like, come on, how can you beat that? But
And I have to give a shout out to my wife because you mentioned you and your dad revisiting Lord of the Rings every year. Every year for Mother's Day, her request is, I'm going to sit in my bed and I'm going to watch my extended edition of Return
oh
of the
yeah,
King, and I'm
yes,
going to drink some mimosas, and it's mommy time. You handled the
oh
kids. This is my moment, and I'm like, let's go. Like
yeah,
that is
oh that's
her
awesome.
that is what she nerds out about. She's Lord of the Rings super fan, and I love it. It's great. It's so much fun when you have someone that is equally passionate about different things, and you can just watch their face light up it instead of it always being about like something you're interested in. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's like we were talking about earlier, like seeing the way people are excited about things is almost it's one of the things that I've kind of started to feel as I get older is I almost appreciate that more than myself feeling good about things. Where it's like if somebody can talk to me about what they're enjoying, and then if I'm able to like, oh, if somebody recommends something to me, tells me this thing means so much to me and I really love it, and then I'm able to go watch that thing or read that thing or whatever, and then have that conversation with them about like tell now that I understand what this is, tell me more. Like that's such a cool being able to share those things with people is so it's just nice to see people be happy, you know, and be
Yeah.
excited about things and like have those conversations. Those are some of the coolest moments that we can have, I think, as human beings.
Um, I want to ask you one more question before I get to like our only like hard topic of this, and
Go
that's
for it.
speaking of kind of being excited about something new and sharing that with people. What would be I guess, one game, and let me know if this is too much on the spot. Like, it could doesn't have to be a game, a book, a movie, or one of each. Something that you currently are enjoying, or that you think might not be very well known, that you feel people should give a shot. Like, what would you like to recommend to somebody that you like? Like, I guess, like you
That's
just said, nutmeg, right? But I don't know if you have another
yeah.
example.
I am in the middle of reading this book series called The War of Light and Shadows,
Mm.
which is I had read Malazan Book of the Fallen, which I'm a little more hesitant with recommending that because it's really dark, but it is probably one of the best written fantasy series. It's just changed the way I view books. But I'm reading this series, The War of Light and Shadows by Jenny Virts, and it like started in the 90s, wrapped up in the early 2010s. It is this story of these two brothers or these two half brothers who are both princes, and they're sent into kind of exile, and they fight this villain in the first book, and there's a curse put on them where they are now cursed to want to kill each other. And you have the I believe it's like the Prince of Light is his name, and then the Master of Shadows. And so it's very obviously playing up the we know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and the author does such a good job of subverting all of that without ever making either one of them seem cartoonish. They both feel like they are doing what they have to do and what is right, and there's so many tropes that get flipped on their head,
Oh, I
but
love
in a
when that
way that's
happens.
like it's not for shock factor. It's not for and it's not always obvious. A lot of times it's really subtle and you're seeing like a third character interact with them and they have their belief and their prejudice that's kind of based on a trope. So they almost are the reader in that moment and they're adapting and learning. So I'm 3 books into that, and it has been incredible. And I hear it only gets better from people that I trust. So I would really recommend that to people who are. It's like 11 books, so buckle up. You can take all the time in the world you need to do it, but that is one that like I feel like not enough people are talking about, and it's been super enjoyable to dive into.
That is awesome. Thank you. Because I just looked it up because I'm always looking for a new series to read. Like, I usually end up trolling, not so much book talk. I don't know if there's a phrase for Reddit books, but I'll just like sometimes go find different recommendations, or something will pop up on my social media, and I'll look into it. I'm always enjoying new series to read, so I just look that up and I'll let you know what I think.
Oh yeah, definitely do. The first book is I won't say it's bad because I thought it was really good, but it's setting everything up.
Yeah.
And then what's also nice is it's broken into like small, like the second and third book are its own story. I think like or 4 through 6 are their own. Like they're broken up into kind of sub stories through there.
Okay. Like
So that's
sagas.
yeah, so that's why I read the first 3 books and then like I'm taking a little break to get through some other things and then I'll go back to it. But I've been trying to make a conscious effort to read more books written by, especially fantasy books, like written by women. There's not a lot, especially older fantasy. So trying to go back and do that, and not that I have like a massive audience, but sharing it with people and trying to promote things that come from a genre that doesn't typically give attention. So whether it's women or people of color like writing in a genre that until recently they didn't get those same kind of opportunities, that's been like my big thing of this year in my fiction reading. And then obviously I'm still going back to some of the classics and I'm rereading Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like I not so much on Reddit, but I definitely do scroll book talk more than I should. I have a couple. There's a couple creators who like I actually like I'm in a book club for one of them and talked with them and just knowing that their recommendations are coming from a good place and they also try to highlight things that are really underrated or underappreciated or from groups that don't usually get attention. So I think that's been like a really important point. So that was how I discovered that series. Like, oh, here's a female fantasy author from the 90s. Like that was not, there's only like 4 or 5 that were ever, you know, marginally successful, or at least if they weren't successful commercially, they were their reputations are these are some of the best writers of this era.
Nice. Um, so the topic I mentioned to you before the call is one that I just thought would be fun, because I always find it fascinating to hear people's take on this. Is that, especially nowadays, we live in a world of remakes and remasters and dominating the video game industry. But that doesn't stop the concept or the thought of a beloved game getting brought back, being remade, or being introduced to a new audience. Sometimes it's just fun to fan cast and speculate. So, what game would you love to get remade? Now, you can either choose to have it be a one-to-one, like traditional faithful remake, or a Final Fantasy VII, like alternate take on the story type of remake. Your dealer's choice, but what game would you like to see remade?
So I have actually 2 answers to this question.
Yeah, the moment I told you the topic, you're like, I already know.
Well, and then I started thinking, and that's where I came up with the other one that's probably a little more out of left field. But the first one is I want them to do to the Sly Cooper trilogy what they did to the Spyro and Crash Bandicoot games. I want them to spruce them up. It's the same game, but it looks like playing the Spyro remasters. Those looked like what I thought the games looked like when I was a kid. And I think the Sly Cooper games have the best gameplay, the best story. Like I think of those older games like that, I think that is the pinnacle franchise, and it's a shame we never got a fourth game or a movie. And so I would love to see that get the treatment because I go back and replay Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus often. I haven't gone and replayed the other ones as much. Not that I don't like them, but I just have more memories with the first one. But
Mhm.
yeah, I go back to that often. I don't know. Have you played those ones?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Sly.
good.
This,
You're a
the
man of
PS
culture, of
the
course.
PS2 era was so cool. Like it makes me sad that Insomniac were the only ones to continue making Ratchet games, and then Jack and Daxter and Sly Cooper both got left behind.
Yeah.
Like Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and Sucker Punch all had like the pinnacle definitive mascot platformer type things of the Sony, like, PlayStation history, I would say. And the PS2 era was where they all had their own trilogies, and then only one managed to escape to next gen.
Yeah, that's why. Listen, I'm hoping they make their way back. But when you got me thinking about kind of when you asked me that question, obviously that's been the one that's been on my mind for years. The more obscure one that would probably never happen is Lord of the Rings Conquest,
Oh.
which was like it was like
Yes.
basically Star Wars Battlefront, but Lord of the Rings. and I would kill to see that expanded on. I know there's like some fan things that people have done, but I would give my life to have that back in a way that just like I want massive epic Lord of the Rings battles where I'm charging in as Aragorn or I've got Gandalf and you've got the Nazgul flying. Like we have the technology. We make so much other slop and so much crap. Please, I'm begging you. Who I don't even know who owns the Lord of the Rings rights anymore because it keeps getting passed around. But please, please give me that. I would give anything for that. That is like such a oh my gosh. I had forgotten about that game even, and then I had it on my shelf and I saw it and thought about it. I was like, man, that game, as much as I loved the movie tie-in games and that stuff, that one was probably the one I spent the most time on by a pretty wide margin.
That is awesome. Good deep cut choice too. And on brand with everything I've learned about you tonight. So that's awesome. Um so for me, I was I'm torn because two of the games I want to say I don't even think they need a remake. They still hold up so well, but it would just be like the Final Fantasy VII. Like I just kind of want to see it remade in today's technology, or even in an Octopath Traveler style, like 2D HD, the way they did Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, right? And that for me is Final Fantasy VI, because that is my most formative important game in my life. It is my still to this day, 30 something years later, my favorite game of all time. And I always feel like, even though it is objectively to me the better game, 7 is the one that gets all the love and 6 always gets forgotten. Like 4 keeps getting revisited, 10 gets revisited, 9 gets revisited, 13 got a trilogy. They always seem to forget 6 exists when it comes to making merch, when it comes to anyway, I would love 6 to get that. And then the other one was Chrono Trigger, same era, like 1 year apart, like just 2 years apart. But I feel like they got a Steam release and then never got touched. Its anniversary just hit, we got nothing, and I'm just like, Chrono Trigger would be a fantastic game that still holds up 100% to this day, graphically and gameplay and story wise. But I would still love to get a revisit. But then my actual answer is Shining Force 3 from the Sega Saturn. And because I love strategy RPGs, I feel like today's era, strategy RPGs are finding a resurgence. But for the Sega Saturn in Japan, it was split between 3 entries. It was like part 1, part 2, part 3. But America only got part 1. And from what I've heard, I don't know if this is just like internet lore or what happened, but I've heard Sega lost a lot of the master copies of a lot of their Sega Saturn games, and that's why we don't ever see them revisited. I
Interesting.
I don't I know I've heard it so many times. I don't know if it's just one of those things that I've conflated with truth over the years, but Shining Force 3 never got the full story released in America. It's never been re-released. It's never been remastered. It's not available digitally anymore. And Sega has never been a company to shy away from releasing their games digitally, whether in compilations or whatever. But the Sega Saturn era is always forgotten for that reason. That, I guess, lends me credence to that theory. But so in my mind, the remake, we would get all 3 parts put on one, because the only reason it was split apart because it was such a ambitious game at the time, and Sega Saturn games, they didn't have the multi discs like PlayStation games did, so they just released it in 3 parts. But then the Sega Saturn died in America before we ever got the last 2. So I would love a Shining Force 3 complete edition with modern graphics, some quality of life stuff, but just being able to actually experience the story for the first time ever would just be fantastic. Because Shining Force 1 and 2 are 2 of my favorite games of all time. And like Shining Force 2 is like a top 20 of all time game for me. And Shining Force 3 was so good, but it never got finished. So that's my answer. Shining Force 3. Give
That's
me
I had to look it up because I'd never heard of it, but that's like, and now knowing that I will never get to experience that in the same way
right?
is,
Like I know if I really looked into the modding community and stuff, like there's got to be fan translations somewhere, and then I guess an emulator experience. But I've always been so bad at finding that stuff and making them work. Like I always somehow mess up something and copying the files or installing something, and emulators never work for me the way they're supposed to. I've somehow made myself immune to being able to enjoy that. But yeah, like I would love just that. I don't know, man. That's my answer.
So I do want to ask. I want to go back to the Final Fantasy 6 thing for a
Yes,
second, and don't hate me, but I've
I
never
won't.
played it.
Okay. What
If I
perfect
wanted
timing for you.
So that's what I'm gonna ask. If I want to go back and play it though, what is the
Yes.
best like whether because I know there's the Pixel Remaster or
Yes.
whatever collection, but there's also like being able to emulate it and do things like that. Like, is there a
Correct.
version that's kind of the definitive version for you?
So Pixel Remaster is a fantastic version, but I still maintain that the Game Boy Advance version, Final Fantasy VI Advance, because for whatever reason, the extra content they added in that, they skipped in the Pixel Remaster. It's nothing groundbreaking or game defining, but it was such like good content that felt natural when they added it, that I was like, it almost felt like it was always part of the game. Like it's just a couple extra dungeons and some extra espers, which are the magic Final Fantasy VI's version of materia. Um, but yeah, I the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster version is fantastic. So if that's your option, you're not going to be hurting. But for my money, the Game Boy Advance, the Final Fantasy VI Advance version for GBA is my favorite version of it. The PS1 one has cool stuff, but it's plagued by bad load times. And in a game that has so many combat, having like 5 second load times before every random encounter really starts to wear on you.
Yeah,
But I Final Fantasy VI is such an important game for me. It dealt with storytelling themes and concepts and situations that were never touched in games in that era, whether it was like teen pregnancy or suicide or genocide, or just all these things. And it still has one of the most enduring villains in video games. So cool. Oh, I
I'm gonna
could.
I'm gonna have to I so this is gonna be the next game that I play, and so
If you
I
do,
will.
please hit me with your thoughts as you play, because I would love to experience someone's first time with that.
Oh, absolutely. I will be. You will be hearing from me because I just recently got the AYN Thor. It's like a little
Yes,
3DS
me
like
too.
shaped. Yes.
Literally last week I got it.
I have mine. I have it set up. I've been playing through Pokemon Black version, but I have some old like I didn't do a lot of the old RPGs on my handheld systems when I was a kid. So I didn't do the Final Fantasies. I didn't do even Chrono Trigger, like a thing that I've known about and I've seen bits of. Like I've never actually played through it. And a lot of it was like even times where like I would try to play things like that on my computer, I just like never did it. I have been bringing this thing with me everywhere. Last week, I met my dad for barbecue and I brought it with me and it was in my pocket. And I sat in the parking lot playing for 15 minutes while I waited for him to get there. Then I went to go see movies with some friends. And guess what? That sucker was in there with me. And in between, I saw Mario and then Project Hail Mary. 30 minutes in between, sat there like I was 12 again playing games. So I will get Final Fantasy 6 Advance and I will put it on there and I will play it. And then once I do, I will be asking for all of the recommendations for all of these classics that I missed out on because
It that's
I
one of
want to
my
experience those.
genre. That's one of my expertises, is recommending great retro RPGs.
Oh, good. I will be making good use of that, sir.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, look, I know I try and keep these episodes about an hour, and I also know that you have a early morning, and so you wanted to not have it run too late. And would you look at that? We're literally almost at an hour, so this is perfect timing. Um, why don't we end by you telling people where they can find you and how they can follow you and all that fun stuff?
You can find me on Blue Sky. It's basically the only place I'm at, and my handle there is just at kylefoley.writes.com. That's something that it might be something new coming from a domain, setting up a website to kind of put some more of my thoughts on like books and things like that that I don't really have anywhere else to publish, but I don't know how to do any of that, so I'm like figuring out how to set up all that and learning how to be technologically intelligent. So for now, it's just the Blue Sky handle, but anything else that I do from there will get posted on there as I go and try to share more of what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. Thank Kyle. First of all, it's always a pleasure to chat with you and just to be your friend and know you. But thank you for just taking the time to sit with me tonight and just talk random stuff and all the things that make you happy. I
Uh,
appreciate
I,
you.
I appreciate this. I was so excited when you reached out, and to give you your flowers, you have long been one of the kindest people that I have met through social media. There's a lot of people, and there's just a lot of, again, in the world, there's a lot of stuff. I've always appreciated your approach to the way that you talk about things and the way that you engage with people. I don't think I've ever been in any sort of situation where a conversation is happening and your name has been brought up and people haven't just been like, "Oh my God, Finn is the best." So I appreciate you, even though every time you come to Orlando, you forget that I'm here. We will have to amend that at some point, but I really appreciate you having me on. It was a blast to get to talk about all this stuff with you, man.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate you. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too.